I'm hoping to keep this super short and sweet here for you. I'm just got through asking the Lord, what do you want to share today? And something in a discussion I had with my husband this morning when I was driving into work, I just realized the vehicle in front of me is a Santa Fe, and they changed the lettering to say Satan Fe. What am I supposed to do with that? It's a red one. They do have a couple Bigfoot stickers on the back. That makes them kind of cool. Oh, there's a few things here concerning, but mostly I like their love sticker, so that's just funny. Love sticker after the Satan Fe. Okay, so wow, big digress. I realized I had spent, mind you, I'm 60, so 6 decades of trying to figure out who I was. It's a long time. I've had a lot of personas in that time period. I remember I gave someone a list of all the things I had done job-wise and volunteer-wise and even fun-wise. I had fun way long time ago. My gosh, how long ago has that been? Over 30 years ago. When I was a young chick, I worked. I had fun. During the winter weekends out at a ghost town, I was a stunt woman. I was one of the frontier floozies. That was super fun. I got shot at every weekend, hit the dirt, man, scuffed up my elbows like nobody's business. We had to wear, hose, or I didn't wear the fishnet stuff. Those are nasty, just hard to wear. But anyways, whatever I was wearing at the time, we ripped them up every weekend. We usually got enough in tips just to buy that. That was it. We paid for our own costumes, did parades, all kinds of cool stuff with the stuntmen out there. Anyways, oh, wow, big digress this way. But all these things that I have done in my life, some very satisfying, like homeschooling my kids, raising my kids, having my kids. A lot of things in the church that I found satisfaction in, like worship teams, stuff like that. But a lot of frustration, and especially when people just like kick you out, or cut you out, or say take a break for a couple months, whatever it is. So all to think that I was like all these different things that I had done, and I was waiting for God to tell me what I was supposed to do. What big thing was I supposed to do with my life? When you're raising your kids, you're raising your kids. I mean, there was fun stuff in between there sometimes, but nothing huge usually. I did try a couple careers, and I actually wanted to take care of my kids. I didn't want somebody else raising my kids for me, and we made it work. Okay, we were the working poor. But you know what? My kids were fed. They had a roof over their head. I was never super concerned with keeping up with the Joneses. That was never a big thing with me. Even since I was a teenager, it was more of is my car running? I don't care what it looks like. Is the rent going to be paid and the utilities every month? That's all I wanted, okay? And probably some money to blow, whether it's on books. I loved the clearance sections, or those markdown sections they had in like Borders and Barnes & Noble, and there's another one in there, Walden Books, bunch of them. Anyways, love those dang things. Big addiction to any kind of book. Coffee table book, reading book, reference books. I still own a ton of books, even though I've given away probably 80% of what I had. Anyways, man, major digressions today. Never been I had ambition, but my ambition was not money per se. I wanted to be successful, but I wanted to be successful in what I was created to do. I guess I always had that sense of that got here for a reason. I was sent here for a reason. And in case you didn't know, you were too. There's no mistake you're here. There's no mistake that you're here during this time period. There's no mistake I tried to describe it this morning, even to myself. I was like, it's like this itching that you have in your heart. It's like an itch. But it's like a painful itch. Like someone took a sharp claw nail and just, and you're like, oh man, why won't they leave me alone? Why can't I stop thinking about that? It's something that you're wanting to do. And you know what? I'm a big proponent of, you don't have to go to school for it. You don't even have to have a talent for it. You do not have to have some, genetic predisposition, or your family's so talented, this is why you're talented thing, or that you want to serve and maybe no one you've ever been around has been good at serving or good with kids. Everyone else has been terrible with kids, but you love kids. All kinds of stuff. There's so many different things. You do not have to be a professional. That whole 10,000 hours thing they love to throw at us, especially as artists. You want to be good at something? You put in your 10,000 hours. Yes. If you can, do it. If you're like, 10,000 hours, I'll be lucky if I'm alive for another month. Okay? Then just do it anyways. Don't listen to, get off TikTok, get off Instagram, get off Facebook, and whatever other made-up social medias they've come up with in the last week. I belong to so many of them now. Most of them I don't even check anymore because it's all ick. Everybody's fighting, accusing, pointing fingers, melodramatic, and trust me, I know drama. Thou art my middle name until recently. And I've been a magnet for it. I have 4 daughters and grandchildren, Anyways, it's not just for women, men too. I'm not going to pick on the women today. The drama you see around some groups of men, come on, man. Own up. Anyways, all these things. This is another one of those days I'm thinking about it, and I thought, kept trying to figure out what I was supposed to do, waiting for somebody to point out I was good at something, and that's where I was headed. That's what I was going to do. I was going to change the world. I guess I had that thought in my head or whatever, that yes, I'm going to change something by just doing what I do, because otherwise why would God even bother bringing me here? I had to be a purpose, right? Okay, so all the way back to this conversation with my husband this morning, and I'm like, there was big swaths of time, unfortunately, to where I like pulled back from what I thought God wanted me to do, because I was still young enough, trying to avoid people bumper hitting here. I did not want to be this person, but I was. I'll blame being young, but whatever. I was self-conscious about everything. And it wasn't like my home or what I owned, all that stuff. I didn't care about all that. I was self-conscious that I was going to make a misstep. Someone asked me that years ago, what my biggest regret is. And I said, my biggest regret is that I didn't make enough mistakes. I really should have taken a lot more chances, more than I did. I should have stepped out when I knew I should have stepped out, and I didn't, to do something big. And it was just because I didn't want to look like a fool. I didn't want to sound like a fool. I didn't know what I was doing. Though I will say God has still tricked me into quite a few things where I've jumped into the deep end. I've learned to embrace this over time, people, okay? 8 years in a job he tricked me into. Yeah, management. I wasn't expecting that one. So, anyways, I'm thinking about this. I'm like, wow, I stepped back on a lot of things. Because I overheard people was told, people had said certain things about me. Trish is too intense. Trish is too passionate. Trish is this, and this, whatever. Too loud. That's usually my biggest one, right? My whole life been told to be quiet or tone it down. Well, why did I get this voice then? Why did I get these looks? At this point in my time going home, this is where I get interrupted with phone calls. Yeah, see, everybody's things are going off. I'm on that 360 thing too. So yeah, all the family's like, hey, she's off from work. Let's call her. Anyways, so I was worried because I mean, if all places at church, in situations where my kids were in, I didn't want to embarrass my kids. I didn't want to embarrass my husband. I didn't want to embarrass God by me being who I was. Now, isn't that a funny one? And so I would back off, really back off. I'm sure I've already said this once before in another video, but I'll say it again. So I shared this with my husband this morning again. I don't know if you ever heard me say it before, but I remember, now this has been, yeah, maybe it's been less than 30 years, but it's in the 20s. And the church we were going to, some well-meaning friend said that in our church, small church, the men were too intimidated. Not even intimidated, that's not how she put it. She probably said they felt not threatened because they weren't worried about me. It was, in other words, I was being me, and I loved our little church. That's where I learned how to be able to share what the Holy Spirit was saying to me, and it was a safe place to do so. And so most Sundays God gave me something, and one of the reasons I did this is because I was taught, you're not going to church just to take, you're there to give. So I tried to prepare myself before I went there, my time with the Lord, and do you have anything you want to share, Lord? And then usually it's during worship is when he gave me something, and it was usually something to build off of something else he'd given me before. So anyways, and I had other people, men included, who had made the comment that they received a lot from what God said through me. So that encouraged me. But this well-meaning friend decided to let me know that the reason the men were not standing up and saying more in church, and there were some who did, but apparently men she knew, and again, this is like maybe 40, 50 people, there's not a huge congregation, were not standing up and speaking out in church because I did. Okay. So I asked the Lord, is this true? Is this really what's going on? And I didn't get an answer, so I decided to test him. And I did not share for at least 4 Sundays. So that's a whole month. That's 4 times I didn't share, at least. Maybe it was longer. I don't remember exactly. But I remember the Sunday I was sitting there going, how many extra men, other than the usuals, have stood up and shared on these Sundays that I did not share? If you guessed 0, you guessed correctly. Yes, that's right. So I was like, I shared that Sunday, and I'm like, Lord, what was that? And he goes, did I tell you not to share? Did I tell you to sit down and be quiet? I'm like, you're right. I'm going to do what you say. So in that church at that time, it was a safe place to do so. I know. I heard a lot of whispers about a lot of things about me. I had someone who actually slipped me a note one time in my Bible when I sat down to let me know that they had a hard time being in the church because of me. Like, yeah, what does that do for you when you're like, wow, okay. I mean, everybody's working on their stuff, right? So I don't hold anything against these people. I forgave them a long time ago. But the thing that's interesting to me is God was trying to show me that here I am, if I was in my 30s, goodness, almost 30 years ago. So God's been trying to show me over and over and over and over and over again, I made you this way on purpose. Now here's the crazy part. Just recently, so all these great crazy things have been happening recently. I've been fasting a little more, and it's because he has had me fasting, because I don't fast for my flesh anymore. I don't want to. I want him to because otherwise, how are you going to make it? You not only be starving, but it's useless. It's like a bad diet. I mean, sometimes it's good to fast a little. You know what I mean. You know all the stuff about intermittent fasting garbage. It's not garbage. It's good. Oh my gosh, Trish, you need to watch what she's saying here. Anyways, again, I was like fasting and hearing things really clear because my flesh wasn't in the way. Let's put it that way. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I watched somebody yesterday who I follow when it comes to Christian art. And he did this really great video, and I commented on the video, and I made a comment about the fact that what God had called me to recently. And I says, and I don't even know what the next steps are, but, you know, he does. You know, that's like, oh, he does, he knows. It sounds silly now that I think about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Trish, you sound like you're, you know, your first year being a Christian artist. And so, anyways, he sent me a message. I mean, he's a busy guy, but he commented and he said, you want to know what you're supposed to do? You do what he created you to do. Okay. And he even called it warfare. Now, think about that a minute. If that thing that's been itching, scratching deep, like can't get over it, don't know why, if I can go back to school at 47, still not quite understand what I'm doing art-wise, it feels more like crafting. That's having fun, I didn't care. But then when I got serious about my art, I was just learning and I wasn't going to try and make a deal out of it. But when I really realized, man, has that been 6 years ago, was my first prophetic painting that I recognized it was a prophetic painting. Because someone came up and said, you painted what I dreamt last night. Sorry, I was distracted by someone on the side of the road. And that has kicked off where I'm at now. So 6 years is this journey. And it took me 6 years and someone else telling me, just do what you were created to do. So this is my word to you. Create. Do. Be. Put your hands to. Even if it feels like just a hobby or whatever. Whatever the Lord has given you that itch, that's scratching you, that you just like, oh man, I really got to do something about this. I can't ignore it no more. When he does that and you listen, well, somebody who's fairly famous and important has actually said, be in the will of God, do what you're created to do. It's warfare. It's important. It's so important. No one else can do what you're going to do. Seriously. No one else can do it. So anyways, I would like to hear anyone. You can send me a message. You don't have to put it out for everybody to see. You can email me or whatever, but it's tada 4 tadaforhim@gmail.com. Just email me. Give me a little hint as to what the Lord's saying to you, and I will pray for you. How's that? Okay? All right. Love you guys. Enjoy your weekend.